watching CramerSez.
Welcome. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez podcast. We call
You're watching CramerSez.
I don't even know what's going on over there. Something else is going on there. Let's turn that off for a second. Okay, there we go. I don't know where that came from. Let's get into this. It's Tuesday, February 6th. As you may have seen, Congress has done exactly what we expected them to do. They've decided not to impeach Mayorkas. Republicans crossing across the line, they think that the border being open is just fine. They don't care. A bunch of other stuff happened today. In the meantime, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. We'll get to that here in just a moment. But with the housekeeping, if you haven't gotten yourself over to CramerSez.com, get yourself over there. Get yourself a free social media account. It's free speech. If you like memes, if that's your way of communicating politically, you're going to love it. Some of the most savage memes at CramerSez.com. Free account. Do it today. Free speech. Do it today. The other thing that you can help us out with is this right here. I'm going to play it real quick in just a moment. We'll be right back with our special guest tonight. But you can help out the J6 detainees. You may not be able to do much for them, but you can help them with their legal bills and so on by going to CramerSez.shop and purchasing items there. 100% of the proceeds go to the J6 defendants and their families and so on. In fact, we're going to announce here in the next week or so a group that we're going to be handing this cash over to. That'll be here in the next couple of weeks, so we're super excited about that. In the meantime, watch this, and we'll be right back with our special guest, INKED.
America's political prisoners need our help. CramerSez is on a mission to raise $100,000 or more. Can you help? Join our mission today at CramerSez.shop. You're watching CramerSez.
And here we are with our special guest, TikTok famous, INKED. INKED, how are you doing tonight?
Good. I think that was a stretch. But okay.
So we have not talked in ages, and it's been months, I think, since we last had a conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been quite a few months, but that's your fault.
That's my fault because I haven't reached out. I'm glad we.
No, you're very busy. You're very busy.
I try to keep busy. Yeah. Well, the last time we had talked, you were making some efforts on the West Coast. You're now not there for personal reasons. But catch us up on what you've been doing and what is happening on TikTok. I'm not there much anymore.
I'm not there much anymore either because I've shipped it off with, we have our show Trifecta Hour that we do on Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern. And so we're no longer on TikTok. Let's be honest. You can't talk there.
No.
Can't be honest. So I don't know what's going on over there.
Well,
I don't care.
I will put it this way. I started up a new account. I went to Texas down to the border. I started a new account, and I just kind of let them sit there. I don't tell anybody that they're there. They just kind of do their own thing. They percolate for a minute. And it was interesting that I was up for about 15, 20 minutes. I posted a ton of videos that I'd already created, and I put them up there. And within 15, 20 minutes, I think I had a total of 10 separate videos, and there were 6 of them that were community violated. And what were they talking about? They were talking about your rights. I wasn't getting naked. I wasn't talking about sex, right? I wasn't doing anything goofy. I wasn't breastfeeding. I wasn't pushing a sexual agenda on children. I was telling people what their rights were. Or I showed a video of police officers along the border cities that are being rented out. They're rent-a-cops. They're using their badge to go work for the NGOs. And when you come to videotape the NGOs in action, well, then the cops shoo you away under color of law, and people move because they think that the cops have authority. They do not have authority when they're acting under color of law.
It's interesting that you say that because TikTok now, leading into this year, of election, we're going to see more and more things coming down, right? So the more you push the truth and the more you try to make people aware of things, like you say, even at the border, they're going to take you down. And they know who you are, Kramer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at this point, you should just make your picture a dog.
Well, I mean, that's it. Well, and it doesn't help. We've tried everything. When I went after that last 10 accounts, the last 10 where I was really starting to push for the 100th account, during that period, the suppression was faster and faster and faster and faster. And we tried everything. They've even got it to the point where they would violate content with just my voice on it. Now listen to that. I can't say it. I can't say it. I can't have my face on there. That's the equivalence of being dead. That's what these people want. They don't want you to be silenced. They want you dead. Because censoring you to the point where you can't show your face and no one can hear your voice, when does that happen? There's only one time in your life when no one can hear you any longer or see your face. When you're dead. That's what they want. Yeah. So what?
And I don't think they want that, Kramer. I think they don't want the truth, right? So you've never shied away from it, though.
I think they want you dead. If they had the option, they would kill you. They just don't have the option. This is the closest that they can get. And the reason I say that is because if you fear the truth, right, you just don't go where the truth is.
Agreed.
Right? You don't go. That's why all the lefties went over to Threads. They left X and went to Threads. And over there, if you go over there, they're, oh my God, this is so great. It's a fucking echo chamber.
What is Threads?
Threads is Mark Zuckerberg's answer to X.
Oh, I never heard of it.
Yeah, that's why, because it's a liberal breeding ground where they just go over there and circle jerk each other. Isn't this great that conservatives aren't over here? Well, I'm there. I watch you. I go over there and get stuff to make fun of them because they are so beta across the board on everything.
Oh, I'm gonna have to get an account.
It's fun. Go troll. I haven't gotten in trouble on Threads yet. We'll see what happens over there.
Okay.
So tell me about your
group.
Can we
talk about the border?
Well, let's tell me about your group. I want to catch up on you for a moment. Well, I'm going to talk about the border, but I want to hear about this group that you're doing. Tell us about the show and what it's about.
Okay, so it's me and AJ and Prince, and we call ourselves Trifecta Hour. And it's just basically like all political hot topics, hot takes on what's like going on in our world right now. And we're really trying to make people like aware, right? Of like, hey, pay attention. This is an election year. They're going to be trying to bamboozle us. Wake up. And so it was kind of interesting because we were having all these conversations on TikTok, but your lives come down, they're community guidelining your videos, all this kind of stuff. So we were like, you know what, we could do this. So the three of us came together, we created this show, and every single Friday we go live. Rumble, Insta, we struggled with a little bit, but X, YouTube, we're there every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Well, so that's interesting. That gets us around to the border. You guys got tired of not being able to do what you wanted to do, exercise your rights. So you've gone and found another avenue to do that. And I think that's what the push on the border, this bring back our borders or protect our borders convoy that I was part of, it kind of fell apart. And the reason that it fell apart is the people of America are scared shitless of their own government. Time and time again, when I started to talk about this, that I was going to the border, the number one thing that I got was, well, it's a trap. January 6th is going to be a trap. Or it's going to be like a trap, just like January 6th. Don't go down there. It's going to be a trap. And I said, good. Oh, you want to get in trouble? I don't think you understand. If I can't travel to the border because I may get in trouble with my government, then we've already lost this fight.
Lost.
If you can't travel this nation and go where you want and gather with the people that you want to gather with peacefully, we've already lost. If it's a trap to go to Texas on the border and say, we don't want these people in because our government may throw us in jail for going down there to protest, we've already lost. And that's my push. America's got to wake the fuck up. They've got to stop thinking that they're going to get in trouble. You're already in trouble. Your nation has been lost.
Kramer, I don't think people really understand like where this comes from, right? And we have been scared and all these fear tactics and lied to over and over and over. I wonder, where did we lose our way? Like, how did we get here when we've always been here? So it's interesting that you say that about the border, that people are afraid to go to the border. What are we afraid of? It's our border.
It's our border. It's the same as going to the Capitol. Right? Going to the Capitol, it shouldn't be an issue. You should not fear going to your nation's capital and protesting. Well, that wasn't a protest. That was an insurrection.
An insurrection.
Really? Against who? The sitting president was Donald Trump. We're going to overthrow Trump's government? Really? We're going to do it unarmed? Really? Where's there ever been an unarmed insurrection? Ever?
There on January 6th.
January 6th. That's it. Only one. Most unsuccessful insurrection of all time because the insurrectionists disbanded after the mayor said, hey, we're putting a curfew in place, go home. Now think about that. They're going to overthrow the government but when the mayor says, hey, there's a curfew in place, the law-abiding citizens, the MAGA citizens that obey the law, went home.
Went home.
Because they were told to lawfully.
And a lot of these charges came after the fact, like social media, like they watched people's social media, they saw who was there. Like it wasn't like they were like arrested on spot. They like looked and people reported you and turned you in. Oh, they were there. They were there. People who never even entered got in trouble.
Yep. Well, we got 20 years.
Okay, can we talk about that?
He wasn't even there. The one of the leaders of the Proud Boys, 20 years, not even there.
Not even there. And I think this is it's very odd to me, especially from the strong left, when they agree with these things, right? Because I said, the hands will be turned.
Yeah.
And one day this will be you. And everything, all the precedents and all the things that they're setting now, they're going to use against you as well. And I don't understand why these morons cannot figure that out. Like even trying to remove Trump from the ballot, like, hello, if you allow this to happen, they'll do it to the next person they don't like.
Well, if we don't get this shit straight in 2024, again, I don't think we'll have an election. I just don't think we'll get
Kramer, you keep saying that. You've been saying that for 2 years.
I know. I said that the last time, and I was corrected as to why I was wrong. And the reason that they couldn't do it in 2022 or wouldn't do it in why would they give up power halfway through? They've got a full 4 years. They're going to stick with it. They did it. They did mess with the elections. We saw what happened in Arizona with Kari Lake. That was clear manipulation. Again, another 2020 moment. So in 2024, they cannot allow Trump to be they can't allow him to take power on January 20th, 2025. They can't allow it to happen.
So what are they going to do, Kramer?
Assassination. That's out there, right? Martial law. We'll have a war. These illegals, I don't know if you saw I think it was in Colorado, they just went in and a couple days ago, released them all, telling the illegals, hey, we're not going to house you anymore. We're not going to feed you anymore. Sorry, sanctuary's over. Get out. So they released them onto the streets. Where are these people going to go? What are they going to do? You miss 4 meals and you'll kill somebody. You'll start stealing. You'll do whatever it takes to feed yourself. That's 4 meals in. That was 2 days ago. We got 2 more days. Now, we just saw what happened in New York, right?
Yes.
What happened in New York? You've got a dog whistle that Bragg just sent to the entire fucking world. You can come here as an illegal alien, beat up on our police, and we will let you go. That's the dog whistle that was just sent. Meanwhile, if you went to go protest what you believe was an illegal, right, unconstitutional election, we're going to throw you in jail. Cross across the border, come on in. We're going to open up everything. But if you stepped on Capitol grounds on January 6th, we're going to come and put you in jail. That's where we are in America right now, Keisha. That's where it is.
And I think the most devastating part about this is that these idiots don't see what's happening. If we break the law, we get 20 years for nothing.
Right.
These people can come in, they can rob, steal, rape, kill, and nobody cares. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's cool. We know you're escaping violence, so you bring your violence here. So there's all these justifications and excuses, and then the American people who pay taxes, who are here, there's no justice for us, and it's wild. It's wild to believe that we're here.
We're here
and that people agree with it.
We're here because people are afraid. They're afraid that they're going to get in trouble. They're going to get in trouble by the government for exercising their rights. Now, if you're afraid of exercising your rights, then you don't have any. You have permissions.
Oh,
people don't
Kramer.
People don't die for permissions. Nobody goes and fights for permissions. I don't ask permission from anybody. I do what the fuck I want. I'm an American citizen. I'm not a subject. The king doesn't rule me. That's the old mentality. I've been listening to this new podcast. I shouldn't say podcast. It's a book on Audible. And it's the politically incorrect guide to American history.
Right.
Amazing. It's amazing. If
Really?
you get the chance, go listen to it. It's 8 hours. You got to commit some time to it.
Right.
But it's amazing because they start to talk about the nuances of how the Revolutionary War started and how we were formed as a nation and why we said we weren't going to do the Civil War, the revolution. It wasn't a revolution. What France had was a revolution. Right? They wanted to upend the cart and start all over. It was anarchy. They wanted to start from scratch. Something new, something completely different. We didn't. We just wanted to maintain the rights that we'd had previously before the king said you can't do that anymore.
Right.
Now, let me ask you a question. Isn't that what we're kind of doing right now? Saying, hey,
yes.
wait. We want to be able to speak freely. We want to be able to travel without threat of the government coming after us. So what's the difference between saying no to a tyrannical king or oppressive king based in London or a tyrannical oppressive government based in Washington, D.C.? What's the difference?
There is no difference. The difference is we're afraid. That's the difference because they're doing it everywhere else. They're rising up and they're saying, get fucked. We're not doing this.
Yeah, if you look at what's going on in France or South Africa or Germany or all these other places, they're saying, no, we're not doing this anymore. And they're standing up. And are they afraid of getting arrested? Yeah. But I think it's important to say, I tried to say this today with Lumberjack and couldn't get it out. I got kicked off the live before I could get it out. But we're the ones in charge. They're the managers. We're the business owners. Everything that they get comes from us. Everything.
Agree. And it's interesting that you say that because people have forgotten that just as quick as we put them there, we can take them out.
That's
and we don't work for them. They work for us. And I don't know where we've lost that in translation, but all of a sudden we're just like little robots, wandering with no way to go. I don't understand why someone needs to be told what to do. This is the United States of America. And I think you said it really well today in the live when you said, if this was the most misogynistic, racist country, why are people flocking and fleeing here?
Why are they selling their children to sex predators? Why are they why are they putting themselves into what is it called? It's not the slavery word. What is it? Servitude, right? That I'll work for you for 10 years to pay off the debt that I have.
Right.
That's what they're doing to get into the most racist nation on the face of the earth. I'm supposed to believe that.
Well, I don't. Well, and you also said they want us to be divided, right? Yeah. So what's the quickest and easiest way to divide anybody is race, right? Yeah. So they create this conflict. They create this fake race war. They dump us into it, and then they say, hey, that bad white man right there, Kramer. Yeah, stay away from him. He's racist.
He's bad news.
He's bad. Oh, he's bad. Right. And then the reality is we are more alike than we are different.
Exactly.
So if
we saying the same thing.
If we removed Trump, Biden from the equation and out of the conversation, we would agree on more than we would disagree. And that is the scary part about this. We were in a live and I said, here we are fighting over two old white men. What's happening right now?
Yep. Well, what it comes down to, what's happening in this nation, the way that the spinmeisters work, the way that the mainstream media works, the way that the lobbying groups work, is that they act no different than the mean girl in the playground who comes up to you and goes, hey, Keisha, did you hear what Kramer said about you? And Kramer, did you hear what Keisha said about you? That's what they do, right? And sometimes they even make it up. You didn't say anything about me. True. I didn't say anything about you. They just came in and made the shit up just to see what we would do, right? And people don't have the moral character anymore to go, wait a minute, Keisha wouldn't say that. I'm going to go talk to her before I make a statement. Today, they want to be the first one to make a statement. And if it gets into the social media channels, right, then it's off to the races with the comments that people make, not knowing the facts of what's actually going on.
Well, social media has created a false sense of security for a lot of people. So a lot of people have dropped into a realm of popularity, power, that's not real. It's non-existent, right? So you now have this opinion and a voice, and they've given you a space to put it in, and you can say anything and spew anything you want. But if you notice, it's only the people spewing the truth
they get in trouble.
That get taken down.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting.
That's the reality.
It's interesting. I'll give you an example. One of the TikTok dudes I think it was my dude. That's who it was.
God.
You know who I'm talking about? And he's always doing the lives.
Tommy.
Okay, I don't know what his name is. Is that his name, Tommy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, he lives in Washington, believe it or not.
Really? Well, that makes sense.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
He does these 8-hour lives. So if you don't know, I don't do 8-hour lives because I have a life and it's not my job. So anyone who's on TikTok or social media 8 hours a day, right? The majority, well, I can tell you all the ones on the left for sure are paid shills. They're part of the Biden's, every single one of them. They're all on this. They're all part of this pay plan. That's why he's. Would you be on TikTok for 8 hours a day if you didn't have to be?
No. I don't want to be on TikTok for an hour.
Right.
So, I mean,
so they're doing it 8 hours, and behind him he's got the screen saying Ukraine's winning the war. Trump, worst president ever. Tell me how I'm wrong. And he's got him and another guy that sit in there for 8 hours a day, and that's all they do.
Jaden.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. They blow smoke up each other's ass and jerk each other off. That's all it is, right? I mean, I call it the way I see it.
I can't. Well, and you know what's interesting that you say that, because they're talking about all the old topics and all of the things that don't matter, right? Like, I can't believe you're not vaccinated, or, you know, like all the dumb things that don't even matter anymore. They're still talking about, and you're right, 8 hours a day, and they have these discords, and what's more wild is that people support this.
Yep.
The people give them their money for these morons to keep talking. That's, I think, the wildest part about it. About it all.
And tons of money. So they're getting paid by the Biden administration or some lobbying group or PAC or whatever, however they're funding it. And then in addition to that, the idiots, the useful idiots, are giving them their hard-earned money. You're right. That's why I've never taken it. The entire time I've been on TikTok and social media, I don't take any of the money that comes in. And if somebody sent, I got a gift card sent to me not too long ago, and that went to pay for the hosting of CramerSez.com for a month. I mean, that just tells you. You know, I don't use it for me. I don't need it. They do, and that's why they're on there. They cannot stop. Because the moment they stop, they stop making all this easy money that they're making from social media and from the paid shill program of the Democrat Party. I think that, you know, I've seen some those on the right, and I know for sure there are no paid programs on the right. Nobody on the right is paying for influencers to go on social media. If you've got a conservative on social media for 8 hours a day, it's not a conservative.
Oh.
Think about it. How can I go onto social media for 8 hours a day? How can I do that? Especially on TikTok. There are a few of them that are on there. 8 hours a day. Conservatives. Spewing what they're spewing. No, those are double agents. Those are Democrats posing. And they're generally, the way that they're doing it is they generally do it as, what's the game that they play on there? The duels.
Oh, the battling.
The battling. That's how they do it. Because they're fighting left against right, the conservatives are dumbasses. They're giving all this money to a person that really isn't a conservative. It's just a Democrat acting as a conservative. Because how can conservatives keep their accounts up on TikTok and have 200,000 followers on TikTok? They're not real. They're allowed to be there. I can't be there.
Well, they have these agencies now.
Right. But not for conservatives.
No, I from what I understand, there's some conservatives that are part of these agencies.
Not for TikTok, though. They can't get on. They can't stay up.
Okay.
The problem we've had, like the accounts that, for Lumberjack is a great example, right? Today he's got 28 active accounts. Why? Because he's afraid of being banned all the time, right? On the flip side, you've got Dude or Tommy who has been up for years on the same account.
Right.
Well, they don't get kicked off. We do. So anybody,
you're right.
Anybody who's got a long-term account as a conservative ad is a great example, right? He lost his account. Hundreds of thousands of followers gone because you can't stay up. I can't stay up for more than 48 hours.
Well, your mouth is reckless, so stop it.
That is true. That is. Well, and the thing is that nothing I say is a community guideline violation in my view. And the reason I say that is because I didn't violate anything I didn't say anything that was wrong, ever.
No, you never have, but you're reckless. Your mouth.
Well, I used the word Civil War today. Oh, you can't say that. Why? It doesn't say you can't say the word civil war. It says you can't advocate for civil war. That's what it says. And what's happened?
Okay, but you came down.
I did. They took me down.
Yeah.
But I abided by the. It says you can't call. You can't advocate. I didn't call or advocate for civil war. I said if we don't watch our step, we're going to end in civil war. That's a big difference.
There is a big difference, but it's not even about that. This AI that they use, it just picks up on your words. That's why if you'd be better off being naked at this point.
Yeah. Oh,
you would stay up.
No, that wouldn't work either.
You don't think?
I've seen myself naked. I look like a melted candle. It ain't pretty.
Okay, Kramer. Okay. We're gonna leave that there.
So what's your plans? I mean, you've got the show. What else are you doing?
Well, I actually, what's ironic is I resigned from my political position because I didn't like the politics of it. So when you get into a space with a bunch of old Republicans who don't want change and who want to push their views. Yeah, well, they want to push their views onto people, right? So they think that in order to be conservative, in order to be Republican, you have to be a Christian, you have to be pro-life, you have to be all these things, when that's not the case. And so when you're in a space where you recognize that in order to win, you're going to have to concede to some things, you're going to have to appeal to the masses, you're going to have to swing vote, the moderate vote. Who wants to keep banging their head against the table? I can't relate to those people. They can't relate to me. So I said, good luck with that. Yeah, and so now you just get in the streets and do it yourself.
That's been the challenge because it's funny, as much as I want to be not part of the establishment, that's what they want. They can't. That's what guides their life. Right? These are the rules, and to be this, you got to be this. And so, no, that's not the case. I don't agree with everything that I a perfect example. Years ago, was on a project with a state, I think it was a state rep. I don't think it was a state senator. He had gotten a law passed in Indiana for the sobriety checkpoints. And he says to me, he goes, well, what do you think about that? And I said, I think it's terrible. Why? We're saving lives. No, you're not. It'll never you can never prove that this program of violating my Fourth Amendment rights ever saved a life. You'll never be able to prove that. So why do it? Right? And he goes, well, because we have to make it look like we're doing something. So you want to violate my constitutional rights to make you look good politically? And that's the
it's ironic that you say that.
That's the establishment.
Yeah, it's ironic that you say that because I know I go to the city council meetings, right? And it's kind of ironic because that's what they do. They appeal to the emotion of people. Yeah. So it's like, now let's make drugs legal. Really? When people are ODing on the streets every day? Yep. Oh, let's bring back the police. Then what are we doing? Because these druggies will rob, steal, kill to get their next high. It's wild, the mentality that they have, because it's like, this doesn't work. This is not going to work. What are we doing right now?
Well, what I find interesting is that we have tried for years to explain how we're going to have less homicide and less crime and less incarceration, and we've gone through the gamut, right? We've tried everything. We've done rehabilitation, we've done programs, we've thrown money at it, we've thrown a ton of money at it, and I think it comes back down to a few core issues. By the time John, Bill, or Rick, right, are in prison, their days of learning, for the most part, are over.
Right.
Right? They're on a path. Where that should have started is in school. I think it's interesting that today kids can't read, but they can tell you how many fucking genders there are. Kids can't do math, but they can tell you what kind of sexuality category they fall under.
Oh, okay, but you missed it. There's only two genders, so that explains it.
Well, that's what I keep saying. You can have as many genders as you want, but they all start from two base models. There's a base model, that's it.
This is correct.
So I know you said you could give me a half hour. What's your message? What are you talking about today? What's important to you?
You know what's really important to me is the truth. Protecting our children, protecting us as Americans, remembering that we do hold the power, right? Because the road that we're traveling down, ask any person who's come from communism or anything like that, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
So it needs to look different for us, or we're not going to make them, or we won't.
Yep. What do you think about 2024? Do you think we'll have an election? Do you think it'll go off unhitched?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
We had this conversation a couple of years ago. I didn't think the 22 election was going to happen. I was pretty sure it wasn't. I'm confident this one won't happen. And it's not because I had some pushback 2 years ago, and rightfully so. I was wrong. I was incorrect. But I'm not getting any pushback from anybody at this point. And it's not just me thinking it. It's people with inside the Trump administration saying it. It's people with inside Tucker Carlson himself saying it, his organization saying it. Anybody who's keeping their eye on the ball realizes that we've got big problems in the next 8-9 months, and that we should expect what happened in 2020 to be child's play considered to what they have in store for us. Victor David Hansen just said the exact same thing. Ben Stein says that we're already occupied, that our nation has already fallen. And so when these men start to say this, those of us on the outside that are not nearly as learned or informed have to take what they're saying truthfully and say, we've got to prepare ourselves. Do you think that America is ready for what happens next? Do you think that the general population is ready?
No, absolutely not. And ironically, the election not happening would probably be easier than Trump coming back.
Why do you say that?
Let's be honest. What does it look like when the president wins, lose, and then wins again? What does that really say? Like, let's be honest. How do you win, lose, and then win again?
Without it having been rigged the first time?
Yeah.
Yep.
It will throw up so many red flags and questions, because I just don't believe that. I mean, don't get me wrong, the dementia-ridden monkey has destroyed us, and so I can understand why people are fed up, but it's really kind of crazy to hear all these people who spoke so negatively of Trump now speaking positively and saying we need him in order to improve. I'm telling you right now, if this election goes, because I know, me and you've been having these same conversations for years to come now. Yeah. You keep telling me there's not going to be an election. If it should happen and Trump should win, well, he will. You're going to see something that America never thought, because the truth will be exposed in ways we never thought it could be. See, and that's why I don't think they'll let it happen. I don't see how they let it. I don't see how they let it happen. And here's the reason. It's the same reason as before. Right? Look at what we found out going into the 2020 election. We heard that Hunter Biden had a laptop out there, and we were told, no, it's Russian disinformation. Don't believe it. It's those pesky Russians again. They were meddling in 2016, and they're back to do it again now in 2020. And then we learned that every one of those intelligence officials lied through their fucking teeth. Right? That's election interference. Well, they don't want to be held accountable for that, right? We were told that Trump had done certain things with hookers, right, in Russia, that he'd had them pee on him. That wasn't true. The people that made that lie up and the people that spied on him from 2016 to through 2020, those people don't want to be held accountable. And the people that are pulling the strings above, they don't want to be held accountable. So I don't see how they allow it to happen, because the deep state does not want to be held accountable, because we are in a position in this country that if Trump goes back in, right? I've talked to enough people in the Trump group that they go back in, they're going back in with a vengeance. It's not for retribution. It's not for revenge. It's for accountability, to get these men and women that have been robbing us and stealing from us and making themselves millionaires on our backs, on our dime, and then telling us that we're hateful and we're deplorable. They've got to be held accountable. And there's so many of them. I don't see how they let it happen. I think that they'll JFK him. That's what I think. I can't stand you. And I'm going to say this. If this doesn't happen, I'm going to land in your house and I'm going to tell your wife that I have to punch you. Because
Please. You know what? I would gladly take the punch, and I would rather be wrong about this. Because if I'm wrong, at least we've got a path forward. If I'm right, then we're all fucked. right? And that's what I've been saying for the longest time. It's like this COVID argument, right? Okay, if you're right and I'm wrong, you win an argument, right? If you think that COVID was real and you think the vaccines worked and there's no harm coming from vaccines, if you believe all of that, which is your right, then you win an argument. We find out and you're right, you win an argument. But if I'm right, you've just lost your life. And these are the ways that we have to look at these arguments. What they're pushing out, time and time again, I've been listening to this, like I said, this podcast, this Audible book, that just shows time and time again, every time the government or elites or a management class try to come in and do things from the top down, it's disastrous for America. Right? Back in the 20s, they were trying to get farmers saved, and every measure that they took made it worse for the food production and for farmers, to the point where when we had the Great Depression, the farming situation in this nation was decimated by the stuff they'd done through the 20s. And it's the same thing now. We're going to go in, for example, try and buy a car in this country right now.
Right.
Try and get one. They've moved all this over to green energy. The car manufacturers are saying, no, we can't do this. They're not selling. And there's full pedal on the metal. They don't give a shit. They're moving forward. They don't care if they destroy another industry. It doesn't affect them because their plans are always based 10 years out. And where are most politicians 10 years out? They're no longer politicians.
You know, Kramer, the most disgusting thing about you is generally you're right. And this time I'm hoping you're wrong. I
hope I am too. I hope I am too. Well, Keisha, thank you so much for joining me tonight. This has been a pleasure. We're going to have to get back together, and I would love to come on your show. Got to get me an invite, though. That's now the ball's in your court.
Oh, you're coming, just so you know.
As Trump says, I'm coming.
Yes, you're coming. Thank you, Kramer.
Thank you so much, sweetheart. I will see you again soon here.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
America's political prisoners need our help. CramerSez is on a mission to raise $100,000 or more. Can you help? Join our mission today at CramerSez.shop. CramerSez is everywhere. Twitter, Truth, Instagram, and always on America's fastest growing free speech platform, CramerSez Social. Make your free account today at CramerSez.com. You're watching CramerSez.
So have you seen the big news? Ronna McDaniel. She's out of the RNC. She will be retiring. Let's see here. Let's see if I can get this off my glasses here. Breaking: embattled RNC chairwoman Ronna McDaniel to resign. This is from the Gateway Pundit. The story reads, in a stunning development, Ronna McDaniel, the embattled chairwoman of the Republican National Committee, RNC, is set to resign from her position following the February 24th South Carolina GOP primary, as reported by the New York Times. This news comes after Donald Trump met Ronna McDaniel at the Mar-a-Lago estate following his prediction of forthcoming changes with inside the RNC. So what we've been calling for since 2020 has finally come to fruition. And who's going to replace her? Who knows? But anything at this point is better. They spent all that money, folks. They blew it. They spent the money that the establishment had given them. They spent the money that the voters of America had given them on flights and parties and flowers and all kinds of bullshit. The shitty primary, the shitty debates that they had. Ridiculous. Just blew the money because it's OPM, other people's money. They don't care. It's not theirs. They couldn't give two shits. Going through the rest of it, George Santos brilliantly trolls House Republicans after they failed to impeach DHS Secretary Mayorkas for the second time. Mayorkas isn't the problem, folks. What we have to look at is this ruling that the Supreme Court just pushed through says that presidents are liable for the decisions they make and the things that they do as president. That means that Obama is liable, Bill Clinton is liable, every living president is now liable for the actions that they took. George Bush, liable. You have to understand how the game's played. Everybody's upset about what just happened. No, it opens Pandora's box now. They think they got Trump, but they just opened the door to themselves. Because it now means that the government that Republicans, if they have a set of fucking balls, which we don't think they do, but it means that they have the ability right now to fix this problem and impeach Joe Biden going into an election. Not going to happen, though. Republicans don't have the balls to do it. Thousands filled Dublin streets in protest against migrant invasion. Have you seen what's going on in Germany? Have you seen what's going on in France? The farmers, what they're doing, the actions that they're taking? They're being more American than Americans are. Went down to the border. Went to this convoy to see what was going on, to do some reporting for the Gateway Pundit. Went down there to take a look and see what was happening. And guess what we found? Tons of Americans didn't show up. Why? Because they're afraid of their government. They didn't go because, well, the government might come down and get them. They didn't go because, well, it's another January 6th. Don't go down there, Kramer. It's a trap. Fucking cowards. Our founding fathers would be disgusted by your lack of backbone, by your lack of testicular fortitude, balls. You're afraid of your own government? These motherfuckers are just like you. They're men and women. They are no different than you. They work for you, and you're afraid of them? You fear them? Everything they have comes from you. You create it all, every bit of it. They don't create shit. They only take. And you've gotten so accustomed to being told that you're the enemy, that you're the bad person, that now you let it go to your core and you feel that, well, if I go down there, they'll get... No! You won't get in trouble. You won't get in trouble. They may try to cause trouble, but think about it, folks. They can't do in Texas what they did in D.C. They don't have the judges. They don't have the corrupt politicians. They don't have enough of them. And in particular, in that area, the neck of the woods, those are all MAGA people that you would get on your jury. Should have thought about that. Yes, I've been saying it for a while that I think that saying it for a while that if you don't grow a set of balls and stop being afraid of the other kids on the playground, because that's all it is. This is no different than being on the playground. If you were a coward in school and you allowed the bully to beat you up, and then you go onto social media and you rant and rave about what you're going to do, you're a fucking tool. That is not what's going to happen. If you didn't do it in elementary school, if you didn't stand up for yourself in middle school, junior high, if you didn't stand up for yourself in high school, if you didn't stand up for yourself in college, if you didn't stand up for yourself on your first job, if you didn't stand up for yourself in the military, if you've never stood up for yourself, there's no fucking way that you will stand up to the government. Get the fuck out of the way. Let those of us who know how to do it get it done. Shut your pie holes and support us. I know it's not the nice and politically correct way to say it, but I'm disgusted by the Americans that are afraid of their government. That is the most un-American thing you can do, is to be afraid of your government as Americans. I was on a live this afternoon on TikTok. I joined in with the lumberjack, Frankie, and got kicked off, got booted for having this exact same conversation. Not by him, but by TikTok, by the algorithm. Because what I'm saying is truth, folks. They don't kick off the people that are talking about flat Earth. They don't talk about the people that are saying, no, it's a globe. They're not kicking those people off. The people that are having conversations of whether Santa Claus is real or not, they're not getting kicked off. The people that are getting kicked off of social media are those that are telling the truth and trying to tell you, inform you that it's time that you wake the fuck up. I'm not crazy. I'm not insane. Everything that I've told you is going to happen has happened. With the exception of, I thought that the election would be messed with in 22. I thought that they would just not have an election because they couldn't allow the Republicans to come back in and take over. Nope, I was wrong. But they're going to do it in 24. And everybody from the top down is concerned about this, and you should be too. It's not hyperbole, folks. I am not fucking doing this for clickbait. I don't make any money from this. It gives me no pleasure to tell you this. But I feel compelled to tell you because I've been on the inside. I know how they act. I know what they'll do. Folks, the same government that burned men, women, and children alive in Waco, Texas, will justify doing the exact same thing to you. Let me ask you a question. What is the difference between walking people into a gas chamber and killing them, or saying, hey, listen, you've got a gun that we don't think you should have, so we're going to burn you alive? What's the difference? The government that can walk people into a gas chamber is no different than the government that burns men, women, and children alive. If you don't see it as what it is and who these people are, what they can justify, what they can do, you're not playing the game correctly, and you're going to get burned. It's time you wake the fuck up. I was told today, I said, well, that Russia are the good guys in this Ukrainian thing, and that you would have thought people lost their fucking minds today because they don't know what's going on. They had no idea that Ukraine was a sovereign government. It was democratically elected. Isn't that what the Democrats are always raving about? Democracy, democracy, democracy. We had a democratically elected government in Ukraine, and the U.S. State Department, along with the CIA, overthrew that government in 2014. The Obama administration did that. Victoria Nuland did that. And where is she now? Well, she's in the Biden administration. Did she get in trouble for overthrowing a democratically elected government? No. Why? Because they needed it. They needed control of Ukraine to do what they were going to do next. That's how the game's played, folks. And if you think it's going to get better by sitting around and waiting until November to make a decision on who you think should run the government and be in Congress and be in the Senate, if you think that that's going to solve the problem, you're childishly naive. It's time you wake the fuck up and realize that those of us that are telling you this on a daily basis are doing it because we're preparing ourselves. I don't go out here and do this and not go do shit about it. I'm ready. I'm more than ready. That's why I can gallivant off to the border, because I'm ready at home. I was ready there. We were ready to throw down wherever we needed to throw down, because that's what it's coming to. And if you think that you're going to go in November and vote, Trump wins, and we're back to normal, you're not paying attention to what's been going on in the last 7 years. What Keisha said earlier is true, because there's two scenarios here, right? There's one where we don't have the election. There's some reason why we don't have it. What it is, I don't know. Earthquake, natural disaster, hurricanes, global warming, whatever they want to blame it on, they'll blame it on something. That's one. And then martial law, and then we have violence because people aren't going to do that shit. Especially if they put blue helmets on. But I don't think they'll bring blue helmets here. I think what they'll do is they'll fill their ranks with all of these young men that have come from nations around the world that say that we'll abide by the Constitution. But they don't need to abide by the Constitution, because if their plans go through the way that they want them to, Joe Biden will in May, or March it is, I think, sign this deal with the WHO, and then we're under the auspices of the WHO, then suddenly there's a pandemic outbreak. And we've got soldiers that came from all over the world that are now in our streets telling us what we have to do based on what the pandemic police tell us we have to do. Not our Constitution. That's out the window. You can't have the WHO controlling us and still be under the auspices of the Constitution. You just can't. They will not meld, because what they're wanting to do is unconstitutional. The first thing that they're going after, what did the WEF tell you just a couple of weeks ago? War in Ukraine, that's not the biggest issue. War in Israel, that's not the biggest issue. Disease, not the biggest issue. The biggest issue on the planet from 2 years ago, disease, not the biggest issue. What's the biggest issue? Not even you not taking your vaccine. That's not even the biggest issue. What's the biggest issue? The biggest issue is misinformation, disinformation. You, me, speaking truth back and forth to each other that they don't like. Now they've got a new phrase. You know what the new phrase is? It's not misinformation. Misinformation is when you tell somebody something erroneously by mistake. Right? You say that it's going to happen on Tuesday and it's actually going to happen on Wednesday. You thought it was going to happen on Wednesday. You didn't know. You made a mistake. That's misinformation. Disinformation is when you lie. When you intentionally tell somebody something that's untrue to make them believe something different. That's disinformation. Now they've got a new one called malinformation. Malinformation is the truth. Not a lie. It's the truth. But if you tell the truth, it could make them look bad. It could make their make them lose their reputation. And people may not believe them, so it cannot be said. Even though it's the truth, it can't be said. That's malinformation. And that's what these social media plans or these social media platforms have been utilizing. That rule, malinformation, right? Is the COVID vaccine 100% safe? No. But we can't have people saying that. It'll mean people won't take it. Was the vaccine 100% safe from killing people? No, it wasn't. Vaccine harm existed. So when we say that the vaccine causes harm, no, you can't say that because, well, that'll create vaccine hesitancy. So we can't say certain things because of the outcome that it'll have that they don't want. Folks, that's slavery. Went down to the border. It's disgusting. It's ugly. Did we have a problem down there? No, there were no problems. We're down to Eagle Pass. The whole area is in trouble. You can see the stress on the system. Went into the neighborhoods and actually talked to the people in the neighborhoods to find out what's actually going on. Talked to a guy by the name of Carl Kidd, Hispanic gentleman. Got a big fuck Biden flag on the back of his truck. Sit down and talked with him for about 30, 40 minutes about what's going on in the area. And what did he say? He said, it's amazing. They would come through every night, 15, 20, 30 at a time, in packs of 10, 15, and 20. Hundreds of thousands of people coming through that city on a regular basis. Had his shop broken into 3 times in a month. And all of a sudden it stopped. And he goes, they can stop it. They've been choosing not to. He says, we haven't had anybody come through in a couple of weeks. Nobody. No roaming gangs, no roaming illegals. Streets clear where they don't have to worry about sitting out on their patio at night because they don't know who's coming through their backyard. They don't know who's coming through the alley. That's what the people of Eagle Pass are going through. The media is not talking about that. They're not talking to the residents of Eagle Pass about the problems that's going on in Eagle Pass. They're talking to the politicians, the NGOs, and the illegal immigrants. Why are you coming through? Well, because life's terrible where I'm from. Ask the people of Eagle Pass how their lives are.
America's political prisoners need our help. CramerSez is on a mission to raise $100,000 or more. Can you help? Join our mission today at CramerSez.shop. CramerSez is everywhere. Twitter, Truth, Instagram, and always on America's fastest growing free speech platform, CramerSez Social. Make your free account today at CramerSez.com. You're watching CramerSez.
And how do we end the show tonight? Well, let's end it like this. Things are going to change around the nation fairly quickly. You're seeing a number of different things happen from what happened today with the Mayorkas vote to the election integrity issues that are going on around the nation. Day after day, folks, we find out that what we said was going on in 2020, we were right. The machines can be hacked. There's no accountability in our system. Judges will not take the cases because they don't want to rule on an election case because they don't want to do what the Supreme Court did with Bush v. Gore. So they just say, no, we're not going to do it. The 60 cases that you've heard that Trump lost, you can't lose cases that were never tried, folks. It never happened. It's another piece of misinformation, disinformation. Well, it's disinformation because it's an outright lie. And I think that most people tell you that. Most Democrats, most liberals tell you that as misinformation because they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. They've heard it on the media that Trump lost. They don't know that he didn't lose, that there was never a case. There have not been 60 cases. There's only been 3 cases, folks. 3 cases that have gone through. And how many has Trump won? 2 of them. 2 out of the 3. So imagine if we took the next 60 cases. How many would he win just based on what we're finally seeing? Well, 2/3. I've been saying for the last 3 years to have hope. I will tell you this. Unless you motherfuckers stand up and stop being afraid of what the government's going to do or what they could do, what you might lose, why don't you stand to see what you could gain? People go to social media platforms and they don't talk like everybody else does. Talk to somebody from social media. Have a conversation with them. And by accident, they'll say things like CW instead of Civil War, because you can't say Civil War on certain platforms because you'll get in trouble. You'll lose your account. So what they've done is they've curtailed saying these words. They don't talk about Civil War anymore. They don't talk about revolution. They've got code words for it. Is that freedom? Is that liberty? Is that the way you want to live? More importantly, is this the way that you want your kids to live? Because if they're doing this to you now, what they have planned for your kids and your grandchildren is 10 times, 100 times worse, 100 times, 1,000 times more oppressive. How do I know? I've read their books. They're not joking, folks. When they tell you that they're going to have to reevaluate what free speech means on the internet, they're not fucking around. It's time that Americans become Americans. Our heritage is revolution. That's how we were founded. And not because we wanted to change everything. Our British counterparts, our British forefathers, because that's what they were not American. They were British. They were British citizens. They were subjects of the crown. Their rights kept getting taken a little at a time by the king. King didn't want him to do this and do that. And then he started taxing him like crazy. And they said, no, we're not going to do this. We like the system that we have. They liked the way it was. They weren't crazy about the oppression. I liked the way America was, just not crazy about the oppression. So what does that mean for us? Does that mean that we stick around and we keep taking it and just bend over again and say, okay, please spit in my ass before you stick it in? Kiss me on the back of the neck when you're done so I know that we're finished. Or do you stand up? Because the moment you stand up, folks, they can't butt fuck you. That's a statement of fact. There are objective truths. So if you want to continue to get ramrodded, the thing to do is keep bending over, keep taking it, keep expecting it, keep your mouth shut, go along to get along. Because they're going to continue doing to you what they've been doing to you until you stop it. There's no incentive for them to stop it. There's no benefit for them to stop it. We got this election coming up in November. And in closing here, I want you to think about what Keisha was saying. She's right. There's only two options here. There's no election. Or there is an election. There's three options. There's no election. There is an election. Joe Biden wins. Chaos. There's an election. Trump wins. Chaos. It doesn't matter what happens. Chaos is coming. It doesn't matter. Trump wins. We didn't win. We've just got a new fight on our hands now. Biden wins. We've just got a new fight on our hands now. And you've got to start asking yourself, where the fuck is your red line? How much do they have to take from you or your family before you're ready to put foot to the floor and head out the door and solve problems? How much do they have to take? How much of their dick do they have to put in your ass for you to understand that they're going to keep fucking you and fucking you and fucking you? At what point do you say, I'm not going to do this anymore? Because they're not going to stop. Bullies don't stop. Bullies don't stop until you stop them. I can tell you that from personal experience. I've knocked down a number of bullies in my life, guys bigger than myself, both physically and in work, in my job, where I've taken on companies much larger than mine is, and won because of tenacity and refusing to lose. I'll give you a quick example of the thinking that has to happen. Back in the 1800s, Dow Chemicals being formed, and they had produced a new chemical that they were starting to sell across the U.S., and they'd figured out how to get the price down so low that they could sell it for cheap. And they introduced it to Europe. And Bayer Aspirin, the company that had Bayer, they also produced that same product in Europe. And they told Dow, they said, if you bring your shit to Europe, we will decimate you in the U.S. We will dump our product onto the U.S. and we will just decimate you. He didn't care. Dow didn't care. He went ahead and introduced his product into Europe, and he was selling it for 26 cents, and they were selling it for 39 cents, and he was gaining market share and doing crazy. So what did they do? They delivered on their promise, and they dropped their product into the U.S. for 15 cents. And I think it was 100 pounds per 100 pounds. So 15 cents per 100 pounds. Now, what would you do in that case? Would you just sit there and allow them to dump onto your market? Would you lower your prices to beat them? Couldn't do that. No, the smart thing to do is to buy their product at 15 cents and then sell it back to Europeans for your 26 cents, and you still made money. That's how you have to think. That's exactly what he did, by the way. It was interesting. As soon as they put the parameters of what this deal was, I said, well, buy the product in the U.S. and sell it to Europe. And 2 seconds later, the announcer, the narrator goes, and that's exactly what he did, Kramer. You got to think smarter about it, folks. You got to join in. You got to be a part of what's going on. And the only way that you can think that quickly on your feet is to be involved on a daily basis. Is it healthy? No, it's not healthy. Everybody's angry at right now because they know what's coming next. But if you don't start planning for this cascade moment that's coming, if you don't get ready, and again, I'm not selling you anything. I don't have food supplement programs. I don't have solar panels to sell you. I'm not trying to tell you what to go get. I'm just telling you better get prepared. You better have food. You better have water. What did NATO just say? NATO said to the NATO members, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. You better have at least 36 hours worth of food and supplies. That's what NATO just told the people of Europe. And if they're telling them that, why isn't our government telling us that? Simple. Our government hates us, and they all want us dead.
America's political prisoners need our help. CramerSez is on a mission to raise $100,000 or more. Can you help? Join our mission today at CramerSez.shop.